Hey guys, I wanted to go over my new Nitro 640 with you and the CX layup and give you a little idea of comparison between the V14 that was broken in half and I kind of pieced back together, my Think Uno that I love, and give my thoughts on them and my first impressions of the NK Storm. So the NK Storm is by far the lightest surf ski that I've ever owned. It came in at 18.5 pounds with the rudder installed. The Uno is about 23.5 pounds, and then the V14 before the repairs, it was probably about 26 pounds, and now it's about 28.5. Overall, the Nitro seems to be a little bit more stable than the Uno, and definitely a lot more stable than the Epic V14 on flat water. Although on flat water, all of them feel pretty close to the same in terms of stability. It's very hard to decipher them. The Uno has pretty good secondary and primary stability for an elite ski. The V14, however, when you get into a side chop situation, it does have a lot of roll. So far I haven't had the Nitro into the ocean yet, just on the backwaters here, but it does seem to be a little bit more stable. So I would assume that would translate well into the rougher water. When looking at them from the rear, you can see that the Nitro does carry more volume and more width in the rear. It has a little bit bigger hips. From the bottom, you can see that that also carries through, has a little more volume under your seat and right just behind you. The Uno tapers pretty quickly, and then of course the V14 does as well. However, the Nitro I did notice has a little bit less width in the nose. You're about 12 inches of width just in front of the cockpit versus about 13 on both the Uno and the V14. Looking at the cockpits, I did some quick measurements. The Uno and the V14, the seat heights and the differential between the seat height and the footwell height is about the same. The Nitro, the differential is the same, however, both the footwell and the seat height are about a half an inch lower than the V14 and the Uno. I'm not sure if that's because it has a little bit higher rails. I didn't go into depth in the measurement, but that was just a quick measurement and observation that I had. The Nitro does come with a water bottle holder where the other two do not, and then you also have the Debrito in the Uno and the Nitro. The Epic has the standard Epic baler. The only thing that I do not know if I like yet, I haven't got to use it, is the leash attachment is up on the footboard versus down in the footwell on both the Uno and the V14. Looking at the yoke attachments, this is where they all differ greatly. I wish there was a standardized rudder size so you could buy some rudders and then be able to switch them over, but unfortunately they all use different things. The NK is the most probably over-engineered of all of them. You got a lock nut on top of a pinch bolt, and it's all exposed so there's no water that gets stored in there, unlike the Uno and the V14. The V14 has a pretty simple yoke system with a little pin that goes through to keep it centered. The Think yoke is pretty good design. I think it is a little hard to remove with that Allen screw, but I do like that it has that extra little hole in the top and a little retainer. If you were to lose this rudder, you would have to really mess up, because that lock bolt on the top and then that also pinch bolt on the side there, it would be pretty difficult for this rudder to come out. Comparing the bottom of the boat, you can see that there's some subtle differences in the design of the holes. You can see here that the Nitro carries the most width further back, has the most volume kind of in the middle, it seems, where the V14 has a very narrow waterline that's a very rounded hole. There's a subtle flatness towards the rear of the Nitro, and then it's a very quick taper from the bow to the front of the cockpit. The Uno is the most different of all of them. You can kind of see that it has like a hard chine line on either side of the boat, and it has a flattish bottom. Looking at the rudders, the Nitro and the Uno rudder placement's about the same, while the V14 is the furthest back. Looking down the bows, you can see that this Nitro definitely tapers very quickly and has a very tight waterline towards the bow of the boat. The Uno carries a little more volume in the bow, and the V14 looks fairly similar to the Uno, just slightly wider in the bow as well. Comparing them on flat water, they all seem to be about the same in terms of speed, with a small edge going to the Nitro. Maybe it's because it's a new boat and I got the new boat fever. However, on my little 2-mile time trial, I went the fastest I had gone in quite some time. My fitness varies greatly because I don't train very often this time of the year, and I don't get to paddle very often due to the work constraints. In terms of stability, they're all pretty close to the same on flat water. It's hard to distinguish very many differences. It does seem that the Nitro is a hair more stable on the flat water, but like I said, it's very hard to determine how stable an elite boat is on flat water. I will say that the V14 is noticeably less stable than the Uno in side chop and confused seas. It's fairly manageable, but the Uno is way more comfortable. So I would suspect, I haven't got this Nitro out on the rough water yet, but I would suspect it's going to be a little bit more stable. If you're interested in getting one, contact Jay Rose with Paddle Sports of Naples. He's the importer for the East Coast. He just recently got a shipment in. I think all the Nitros have been sold except for maybe one of the 600s. So definitely contact him if you're interested sooner rather than later. I think they are putting together a second container. Overall, I'm super happy with the boat. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment.